Hello. Hi, Yaakov.
Hi, Mario. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, very well. Thank you.
Kind of late today.
Yep. I'm actually in New York, so it's even later, but that's okay. Mhm.
Tomorrow.
Almost a minute away.
Yeah. How's the weather there?
Very nice. Today was very nice. Yeah. It was about
Today
75.
it was too hot here.
It was hot again?
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
not like that big, but
Yeah. In the valley last week, it was terrible.
it's supposed to get some rain, hopefully.
Uh, yeah, we need it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right. Hello, hello.
Hi. Nice picture,
Hi,
Norm.
Hi. Oh, I'm in a different room in the house.
Yes.
Hello.
That's a
Hi.
picture of my wife.
Oh my gosh.
When we were
Just a couple of
engaged,
days ago? Taken a few
couple
days
days
ago?
when we were engaged, my friends held a party and they had each of our parents give them a photo of us as children.
I see.
So that's,
There you go.
now you know
Yeah,
what you look
now I
like.
know all the secrets. We all do.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Good
Evening.
evening.
Mario, how are you?
Good.
It's a little
And
late.
you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I know, and the DAF is even later.
Right. I don't know where Ernie gets the energy from. I just have no idea.
I don't know.
Ah, okay.
And this is almost past my bedtime.
Almost, yeah, mine too.
Yeah. Ernie has, my wife says Ernie has a very good battery that keeps him going. So I
Right.
guess so.
No. Where is he?
Yaakov, you'll have to remember this picture because in shul, actually, my daughter thinks that her youngest child looks like that picture. So I'll point it out to you.
Okay.
I'll
Very
point
good.
him
I'll
out
be
to
the
you.
judge.
Yeah,
I'll be the judge.
you'll be the judge.
So who's that picture, Norm? Your son, your daughter?
No, that's my wife.
Oh,
That's my wife. There's another picture on the other side of the room. When we were engaged, my
I
friends.
heard you said
Yeah.
that.
That's her childhood photo that her parents gave my friends.
That's cute.
Yeah. I'll show you, because I know you're interested. I'll show you my picture, which is on the other side of the room. Since we're
Okay.
waiting here. Let's see if I can get it. It's a little dark, but that's,
Oh, a blondie, yeah?
oh yeah, I was blonde. I was a towhead. So now you've got the whole all the family pictures.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Next week, I'll show you my bar mitzvah pictures.
Okay.
A week after that, you could show your grandchildren, we'll
That's
do
right.
the whole family tour.
Hmm.
I guess this will become a show and tell shiur.
Yeah. Why not?
Absolutely.
We can all kvel.
Thank God.
I told this to somebody recently. You truly don't know what Yiddish Nachas is until you have grandchildren. You know what Yiddish Nachas is with children, but you really don't know.
That's
Right?
true.
Right?
That's true.
As they say, grandchildren are the prophets.
That's correct.
No. Shall I text him? I'll call him.
There he is.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Ernie, shalom aleichem, Ernie.
Good to see everybody in Los Angeles.
No jet lag, Ernie.
Not a little bit, not very much. Okay, we left off on page 157. If I'm not
Correct.
right,
Correct.
Yes.
we're talking about hefsek, interruptions during Shemona Esrei. Since Shemona Esrei is the time when we speak directly to Hashem, it is clear in the halachic sources that one may not interrupt in the middle in most situations. The Mishnah in Bracha states that one may not interrupt even if a snake wraps itself around one's foot. Why? Somebody would really have to have wonderful kavanah to be able not to. Walter can tell us a little bit about that.
I forget if it's Rashi there, but the comment immediately says a non-poisonous snake.
Yeah,
That's clearly what it
exactly.
says.
I would
Yeah.
like to venture to guess that most of us are not
Such mavens.
such mavens that on the spot we're gonna know which one is which.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, Ernie knows. Even if it's a non-poisonous, or hope it
Yeah,
was,
you're gonna be
It's a pretty scary-
hot splitting it out of here.
right?
Anyways, Afilu HaMelech Shoel B'Shlomo, even if a king or the president of the United States, says something to you, Lo Yashivenu, you should not respond to him. Afilu Nachash Korech Alik V'Lo Yafsik. However, the Talmud Yerushalmi states that one may move or walk in the middle of Shemona Esrei if there is danger that the wagon or animal may trample him, but he should not speak in this case. Says the Yerushalmi Tni, he was davening in a plaza. If there's a donkey or a wagon coming his way, can get out of the way. You shouldn't speak. The Shulchan Aruch records the rulings, both of the Mishnah and the Yerushalmi. If he's davening in the road and a horse and a wagon are coming, you should go out of the road, but don't be mafsik. Aval binyan acher, if it's something else, l'chora not a sakana, ein lotzes b'mkomo ad shigmor tfiloso. He should not move from his place until he finishes his tefillah. Ela im kein hu b'tachanunim shlach tefillah. Once he gets to the Elokai Tzor, it refers to the paragraph at the end of Shemona Esrei known as Elokai Tzor, whose status is less strict, as long as you've recited the pasuk of Yehi Ratzon. And then you could have more hafsakas. Even if a snake is around his foot, lo yafsik. He says, if you see the snake, if it's on your foot, or I assume it also means if you can avoid him by walking away, as long as you don't speak, you can do so. Aval akrav poisik. A scorpion is more dangerous, and you can even be mafsik. Lefishimuad yoser lahazik. A scorpion is more dangerous. Nachashnami. Imroshu koyes. You see that the snake is angry and ready to strike. Uchalazik poisik. You can even be mafsik. You can stop, call for help. Although the two halachas quoted in the Shulchan Aruch can fit together nicely concerning the element of a verbal interruption, there may still be a possible contradiction in the formulation of the Shulchan Aruch and Ramah concerning walking during Shemona Esrei, as noted by the Taz. The Shulchan Aruch and Ramah in Seif 3 hold that one may move locations during Shemona Esrei to remove distractions, implying that walking itself is not a hefsek. However, the Shulchan Aruch in Seif 2 writes that one may not walk during Shemona Esrei except for cases such as that we just described, like of the wagon, which is a danger, which implies that walking is considered a hefsek. How should this be resolved? The Mishnah Berurah explains that moving in the middle of Shemona Esrei is considered a partial interruption that is less severe than speaking. Therefore, one may move in any case of need, such as the one that are described in Seif 2, like the wagon, etc. But in cases where there is no need, even walking is not permitted. And this is the meaning of the Shulchan Aruch in Seif 2, that any case where there's no specific need, it's not permitted to walk. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kol ha'seif zeh shemaskir hefsek ma'iri hakol midei dibur. He explains in the Shulchan Aruch when he says hefsek, he means talking. Aval ayidei halicha muter. Shalicha lo nikra hefsek. Halicha isn't called a hefsek. V'davka hachadu l'tzarch l'asra nachash. Here there's a need to get rid of the snake. After talinan bin aslam lo yesakana. Even though normally it's not a sakana, because snakes, unless they're angry or unless they're poisonous. Aval shalol l'tzarch mikri halicha gam ken tzad hefsek. But if there is no need to walk, then walking is a little bit of a hefsek. The Mishnah Berurah cites a few other examples where the chazan may wish to move in the middle of the Chazras Hashatz. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ein lot says, you shouldn't go out during Shemona Esrei. V'yesh ligor b'chazanim she'oikrim im koyman b'yom HaKippurim k'shemagim el v'anachnu korim v'seder avodah. He says we should yell at the chazanim that jump back from their stender, that they should have room to do koirim in Yom Kippur when they get to Vanachtu Koirim. Kedisa b'simen tafresh chaf aleph, ela b'amidin lo stender, k'nohog beino l'teva, kodem mislakin ha'stender ve'in tzarech la'karaglav. The Mishnah Berurah says that the chazan, when he starts davening, he should already be behind, he should be away from his bima, the normal bima, to the point where he can do koirim. But when he starts Shemona Esrei, they bring a removable stender in front of him. And that's where he davens musaf until he gets to the avodah. Then they remove that movable stender, then he doesn't have to jump or move, and he could do koirim like that. Rav Mordechai Willig writes that he heard from Rav Soloveitchik that this suggestion was problematic in his opinion, as kneeling down is also considered an interruption in the same manner as walking. Rav Willig therefore suggests that the custom to kneel may rely on the opinion of Rabbeinu Yonah that walking is not considered an interruption at all, or that kneeling is considered a case of need like those in Sif 2, and therefore even walking would be permitted if necessary. And the Mishnah Berurah quotes that after you've said the tachanunim in Elkai Netzor, then you could be mafsik. You could uproot your feet for a tzorach mitzvah. For example, mincha time or Shemona Esrei after Shachris, our shliach tzibur moves his feet and he sits down to say tachanun. Bimkom shenogim lomar tachanun b'yeshiva. V'chein ol lebim l'kriyas Torah. Av shlo higia dan la'kadish she'im tiskabel sheposeh bo gimel psios. The chazan can go and lay in the Torah. He hasn't said tiskabel where he takes us 3 steps back. Mashma, we see some chazanim after Shemona Esrei, they take 3 steps back. It's mashma from this Mishnah Berurah that you probably shouldn't take the 3 steps back until Kaddish Tiskabel, whenever either after Tachanun or after Uval Tzion. That's when you take the 3 steps back. It's not like some people do where they take the 3 steps back before Tachanun. And there's a footnote there. See Shulchan Mishnah Berurah who indicate that the Chazan does not take 3 steps back after completing the Chazar Sashatz. Rather, he does so after reciting the Kaddish immediately preceding Aleinu, known as Kaddish Tiskabel. So that's an important halacha that not everyone does.
How do you do in the Philosophia? How do you do Tachnun then?
You just walk away and you sit down.
But
The Akiras Regalim, you can see clearly here from the Mishnah Berurah, where you take the 3 steps back is done in Kaddish Tiskabel.
so in other words, you finish.
Finish Shemona Esrei and then you go sit down.
You go sit down. You don't.
Not
take
Akiras
it back.
Regalim.
Oh, okay.
It says.
Well, okay. So that's what people do. I
Yeah.
don't see anyone goes taking steps back.
Yeah, in a Chanami.
So
Yeah,
basically,
I've seen some people take steps back at that point.
I mean, it's a very odd thing. What happens? What happens on days when you read the Torah? I mean,
Because he said exactly. He said even then you can go up and have an aliyah and be oiker raglav if the chazan is called up and see if he's the balkore
Uh-huh.
or he has an aliyah. And he says very clearly that it's not a problem.
Okay.
So what's coming out is the following. When the shliach tzibur says his own private Shemona Esrei, of course he takes us 3 steps back. But the tefillah for the tzibur, he takes us 3 steps at the beginning of Shemona Esrei, and his role as the tefillah tzibur does not conclude until he says tiskabel, and then the oisa shalom at that point, because there the davening is that the tefillah should be miskabel, and the ashrei and the valet Zion, it's all considered part of the tefillah there.
Okay.
The Sefer Isha Yisrael offers a number of practical examples. Imam b'tefillah Shemona Esrei. The guy is davening Shemona Esrei. Yesh chashash sakonos tefashos lamshich lispal b'osam mokom. A terrorist came in. There's a sakona to stay in that place. Or kigon shiskarve lav bal chayim sukan kakra. A dangerous animal comes into the shul. Kelev shoite, a rabid dog, the chadoime. O sheshomea yiriyot, he hears gunshots. O ezaka, or a siren. Vitzorach larutz lamikla, they have to run to an underground shelter in not Ashdod, in the place that gets all the missiles there near Gaza, Sderot. They say that they get a 7-second warning. They get a when the siren comes on, you got 7 seconds to go to a miklat. So this is very, noyeg here. You can't sit around until you finish one. You got to run right away. You kotzer b'tefillah. So he should shorten his prayer by just saying the opening and closing. Or go quickly to another place and without talking and continue your Shmon Esrei. Or you have to speak if it's part of the emergency. Then he lowers the level of problem. It's not pikuach nefesh. He can't have kavanah. He's afraid of something there. He can go to a different place and continue his tefillah. But he can't be mafsik with speech. Yellow Rakev said kaspi, but if it's a financial issue, you can't walk away from where you are. If it's just financial, you don't have a heter to be mafsik with walking. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu also mentions another practical case where it is permitted to move briefly during the Shemona Esrei. For example, to pick up a sefer that falls on the floor nearby. A person is davening Shemona Esrei from a siddur. The nafal miyadon fell on the ground. Or shall nafal l'fon of sefer kodesh ve'ena yochol l'chavin b'glal zeh. A chumash fell close to you, and it's bothering you, and you've broken your kavanah. Mutu lo la'atzor b'siyum ha'bracha shenimtza ba. You can stop when you finish a bracha. Go over the lechas l'harim, say, go over to the chumash, pick it up. V'achakach yasur l'makom shifsik, and then continue the Shemona Esrei where you left off. What is the halacha concerning pausing silently in the middle of Shemona Esrei without moving or speaking? Is that considered a hefsek? The Yalkut Yosef writes that one may pause briefly in order to remove distracting thoughts from one's mind. Somebody is davening. He starts thinking about a shvera toisvus that he learned. Bekushios v'tirutzim, kashas that he had answers. He's just lost his train of kavanah. If he can remove his thoughts from Torah back to his tefillah, yasakain. If by pausing 1 or 2 minutes he can sort of get his kavanah back, he can pause and get his mind back to where it was. You don't want to be mafsik in that kind of pause longer than it would take you to finish all of Shemona Esrei. The Isha Yisrael cites Rav Chaim Kanievsky, saying that the question of when one must repeat Shemona Esrei, certain sections of it, after a pause or verbal interruption, is a complex one, as beyond the purview of this siddur. Is motioning with one's hands, you tell somebody like this, wait a minute, or or quiet or something. Is that permitted during Shemona Esrei? The Mishnah Berurah writes that motioning is forbidden, but in certain cases where a child is crying, one is permitted to motion. And motioning is preferable to moving somewhere else with your feet. Lo yafsik afilu remiza ba'al mo'aser, even hinting. Im lo latinok aboicha mutra lo l'ramez lo biyodo kadesh yishrok. Except to a child, you can make motions to him to stop making noise. If you can't silence him, you can walk away from him. But don't speak to him. Geen Adam nichbad she'omer b'tefillah v'ashatz mamtin alav b'amiras kaddish o kedusha. Let's say you have someone prominent who's in the middle of his davening, and the chazan is waiting for him to finish before he recites kedusha or kaddish. And the rabbi is not happy that they're waiting for him. The whole fact that the shul is waiting for him is ruining his kavanah. The rabbi can turn around and say, continue, you don't have to wait for me. So to summarize, interrupting Shmona Esrei by speaking is allowed only in case of mortal danger. For this reason, the accepted halacha is that one may not answer to Kaddish or Kedusha while in the middle of reciting Shmona Esrei. What you should do, you should stop, listen intently, which is considered equivalent to responding due to Shomea Ka'ona. So if you're davening Shmona Esrei and the Kahal gets to Kaddish, you should just stop, listen to the Kaddish. When the Kaddish is over, you continue your Shmona Esrei. In contrast, walking is allowed even for other important needs or for the sake of the prayer itself, such as looking up halacha about the correct way to continue in prayer. You could stop to get a Mishnah Berurah in the middle of Shemona Esrei if you all of a sudden have some kind of halachic question. Pausing in the middle without moving or speaking is also permitted when needed to remove distracting thoughts. And motioning is permitted, preferable to moving, when necessary to remove a disturbance.
You know, what he doesn't consider, or what isn't mentioned, is the issue of when there is a child who is disturbing the entire shul, who's crying and carrying on, and you have to quiet the child, or maybe you have to take him out. My understanding always has been that you could do that. He doesn't consider that question. So otherwise, everyone else's tefillah is also being disturbed.
It's said like this: if you could hint to him to stop, fine. If not, they wanted you to move to a different place. Now, but if he's crying, he's disturbing everybody, it would make sense that you might have to leave with the child and
Right.
stop the disturbance for everybody else. And then
Right.
if somebody else can take care of the child, you could probably come back and continue your davening.
Right.
What about women and interruptions during davening? They apply to women in exactly the same manner. So the Pnine Halacha of Eliezer Melamed offers the following practical applications for women. Isha Shandal Ispal. Woman is davening Shmona Esrei. V'namdu b'krovason hashimo yiladim shemedarbrim ad she'en yichol l'chavin. Near her are children or other people that are talking that prevent her from having kavanah. Im tuchal irmos lahem v'em yishtaku mutav shetirmos. Option number one, the best option, is for her to hint without speaking to them, shushing them with their finger to be quiet. Hinting with your finger is less of a hefsek than walking. If they don't listen to her, she should walk to a different place and continue davening. Someone comes to the women's section. This is Yaakov's issue. Child making noise until it disturbs the davening. Which is preventing other daveners from having kavanah. Number one, tirmos lo sheyetze. She should hint to him to go out. She should take the child out of the shul without speaking. So So rather than come back, she should just finish. That's already enough of a hefsek. She's walked, takes the child outside, and can finish her Shmona Esrei outside. If in her house where she's davening, there's some kind of emergency, if she doesn't fix it right away, a pipe breaks and it's leaking water everywhere. It's going to damage the furniture. And she can go and turn off the main line. Lo tafsik. She doesn't have permission to be mafsik. But if it disturbs her kavana, and she can't have kavana davening, she could go and turn off the water from running if it's going to interfere with her kavana. Hard to imagine that something like that is going to happen and it's not going to interfere with a person's kavana. So it sounds like somebody would have a hefsek to fix the problem. Telephone rings. Tamshich b'tfilosa, she shouldn't stop davening. If the phone call interrupted her kavana, she can basically hang up the phone so that it stops ringing and go back to her tefillah. Somebody's knocking on the door. If she can develop the mental forces to continue in daven, she should continue daven. She's concerned that if she doesn't open the door, the person will leave. Maybe the person knocked on the door at some emergency. As Daitan, all of this is causing her to have problems with kavana. She can go and open the door in the middle of Shemona Esrei. With her finger, she can say, I can't talk. She should not be mafsik in terms of speaking.
You know, Ernie, you didn't read the last few words in the first paragraph. It says, which would apply to men as well in similar situations, which makes sense. And it just makes me wonder why this is a tefillas nashim. This would be tefillah for men as well, in the exact same situation.
In the Hebrew, it says by men?
No, in the English, in the first paragraph, in the background, the brown background, top of the page.
Oh, which would apply to men as well in similar situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't say it in his vort there,
Yeah.
but he should have said it because fathers bring their children to shul as well.
And knock on the door. I mean, all that can be similar in the same circumstance. This is
Absolutely.
all possible for men as well.
Absolutely. I think they brought it because the Pnina Halacha must have been addressing women in davening. And these are, women are at home more often. Men usually are more, yes, men can daven at home, but it's usually that they're in shul. And these things, knocking on the door and the telephone ringing, those things are not that common in shul. So he was probably just giving some practical examples for women who are at home more. Okay. Sitting and passing in front of someone reciting Shemona Esrei. So this halacha is related to the having proper kavana. There is an injunction against standing or sitting in front of someone in the middle of Shemona Esrei. The Gemara Brachos derives from Chana's answer to Eli when praying the Mishkan in Shiloh that it is forbidden to sit within 4 amos of someone reciting Shemona Esrei. Ani Aisha nitzeves imachem bazeh. I'm the woman who's standing here to daven. It's prohibited to sit within 4 amos of someone davening. Rishonim disagree as to how the halacha is derived from the verse. According to Rashi, the words "who stood here with you" indicate that both of them were standing at the time of her prayer. Nitzeves imachem, Mashma af hu ima bamida. The Eli was also standing. And Tosfos understands that the additional letter hey by imcha demonstrates that Eli sat 5 amas away from her, since the letter hey in gematria is 5. Imcha, right? Hanitzeves imcha, ayin mem chaf hey. It's a very unusual way of spelling imcha. So this hey, right? In the English, they inverted the imcha. They said hey chaf mem ayin is ayin mem chaf hey. Imcha mashma b'toch arba amos. Yishum dechsiv imcha molei hey. Kloimer shelo haya yoshe b'toch arba amos shelo kiyim b'chamishis. Eli was sitting not in the 4 amas, but in the 5th amma. Tosfos cite the Gaonim as saying that if one is reciting Shema or Birchas Kriya Shema, one may continue to sit in front of someone praying Shemona Esrei. Mikan upirshu truas haGaonim davka b'yoshev uvatel. If you just stop sitting, so that's going to be considered a hefsek. So if you're saying Birchas Kriya Shema, then you're allowed to continue to sit. The poskim disagree as to whether this heter of the Gaonim applies specifically to Shema or includes learning Torah as well. According to the Tur, permission to sit within 4 amas of someone reciting Shemona Esrei does not include one studying Torah. He explains that the reason for the halacha is that it appears that one sitting is not accepting all Malchus Shamayim upon himself, like the one who's davening. This reason applies to one studying Torah as well. Says the Tur, Mashma b'divreim, shemoisik b'Torah osir to daven. Shlo yiskir el kriya shema b'rchoseh. They only allowed you to sit within 4 amas of a davener if you were saying Kriya Shema. And even though Torah concepts are more chomer dicker than tefillah, somebody whose profession is learning Torah, he's not mafsik to daven, but b'hot tefillah adifa. But in this case, tefillah is higher. And who ain't a makabel? It looks like you're being a moired like Kodesh Baruch Hu, that your friend is being makabel the yoke of heaven, and you're not. That's for goes away, because when you're in Kriya Shema, you're also being accepting all Malchus Shamayim. We can learn from this Inyan as well. He was learning Eli HaKohen. And even so, he had to stand and not sit. So this is a raya that sitting and learning Torah is not an exception to this rule. The Beis Yosef disagrees with the Tur and writes that even one learning Torah may sit within 4 amas of someone in the middle of reciting Shemona Esrei. Yesh lidchos. The Beis Yosef says that we disagree with the Tur. The Isser is when you're just not doing anything. Someone's learning Torah is like Makabel all Malchus. The Kivan, the Misha Torosom Noso, Ainam Afsik Mitam Torah. Someone who's in a koila, his job is learning Torah, he's not mafsik to tefillah. Why is that? It's because learning Torah is even greater than tefillah, so you don't have to daven. Ela shematzati l'smag, shekosov is elashona. Kosov, the Sefer Mitzvahs Gedolos writes, Kosov Moiri Rabbeinu Yehuda b'shem Tshuvas HaGoinim, Dafka k'shayoshev botel. the person sitting within Da'at Amos is not doing anything. Avelim osek b'tfila or osek b'toira shapir dami aykom l'shonei. The gam smak, the sefer mitzvahs katanos kosov, the siman yud aleph. Shema osek b'toira shapir dami. That it's not a problem if you're learning Torah. We talk kach nira. D'lo hiskira goyim kriyashma v'chosev chayotz behem. Why did they mention these things? Mishum deruchah d'milchzo achihu. Sheba'od zeh mispal chaver osek b'milah d'tfila. It's very common that a person is behind. They're already davening Shemona Esrei and he's laning Kriya Shema. So it took an example that was very prevalent. Aval einach hanami, Shema osek b'divrei Torah, aval b'sheinim inyan l'tfila Kriya Shema shapir dami, that reading Torah is also an exception to the rule. The Shulchan Aruch codifies the halach of not sitting within 4 amas of one reciting Shemona Esrei, in front, as well as on the sides and in back. The Shulchan Aruch then quotes both opinions, considering studying Torah within 4 amas as well, as an opinion that one may never sit directly in front of the one reciting Shemona Esrei. Also, you can't sit within 4 amas of a davener, whether in front, whether in back, or from the sides. If you're davening, even korbanos, that gives you permission to stay where you are. Or if you're learning Torah, that's only if you're on the side of the person davening. Aval kenegdo, if you're in front, afilu kamalei ein of usher. As long as you can see the person should not sit in front of a person when they daven Shemona Esrei. Afilu oisek b'Kriyas Shema, even if he's davening Kriyas Shema or he's reading Torah. I'm going to ask a request that we stop a little earlier today. I am still a little jet lagged from the trip. I just came back yesterday. So today's shir will be 40 minutes. I'm going to start the Daf Yomi also earlier. Instead of 10 o'clock, Mario, we'll start at 9:45 so we can finish early. Okay?
Okay.
And tomorrow, excuse me,
Okay, go ahead.
next week, God willing, Tuesday night, regular time, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'll send you
Go ahead.
emails.
Go ahead, honey.
Just go ahead. Get a good night's sleep.